Hey guys, and welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary and it's time for a species spotlight. Now I know I say every week that the fish that I'm featuring is my favorite. Rest assured, I'm not going to say that about this one. This week's species spotlight is on Pangio anguillaris, or the silver eel loach or silver Kuhli loach. Now, you guys have been asking and asking and asking for me to feature Kuhli loaches, but I have to tell you, I rarely keep them in stock, and I'll show you why in just a minute. Regardless, they're peaceful, they're adorable, and they're wonderful inhabitants for a planted aquarium. So let's take a look and I'll tell you more about them. So this is one of my 20-gallon quarantines. And you guys will notice right off the bat that this tank is unusual because I actually have substrate in it. And that's because I make exceptions for fish that require substrate. And Kuhli loaches are a fish that really require substrate. Not only do they like to burrow in it, dig down deep and dogpile in there, but they also use it as part of their normal feeding habits. So they will gather entire mouthfuls of sand and then run them through their gills, and they sift it that way, and that's how they collect things like insect larvae, microcrustaceans, and organic detritus in the wild, which makes up most of their diet. Now they come from low current rivers, most often collected from central Borneo, but they have a pretty wide and patchy distribution throughout most of South and Southeast Asia. They're a cobitus species, and that's one of the most diverse and widespread. Now you guys are probably used to seeing the black Kuhlis and your regular Kuhli that are the red and black, but I got these guys in because they're just a bit more unusual, and it's kind of hard to tell, but they're a silver color and they have a beautiful iridescence to them. This tank isn't particularly brightly lit, and that's for their comfort as well. They come from low current rivers that have a lot of sand, leaf litter, and silt. So very, very soft substrate. In an aquarium at home, you're absolutely going to need to duplicate that for their health. Again, because they both feed in the substrate and burrow into it. Now, it may not look like I have a ton of these critters in here, but I definitely do, and I'll show you in a moment. These guys really appreciate shady spots, so using some driftwood and lots of plants is really going to make them the most comfortable. You'd want to feed them live or frozen foods for the most part, though they will take dried. Sexing them is really difficult. These guys are still young. They're only about 2 inches, and this species, well, maybe 2.5 inches. And this species gets to 4 inches, and they're one of the more slender loach species. Supposedly the males get a nuchal hump, so their forehead will be more prominent, and the females get much fatter, and you can see the eggs in their abdomen. However, I don't know how accurate that is because these guys have never been bred in captivity. They're pretty cool. They give me the heebie-jeebies because of their eel-like, snake-like movement, and I don't mind them when they're acting like they are now. But one of the characteristics of them is that they will pack themselves into every nook and cranny. So I'm just gonna move this and you can see how many are in here, and then they start doing that eel-like thing, this, oh gosh, and it just really totally gives me the heebie-jeebies. They just move and move and move so fast. Freaks me out every time. But I see their appeal. I get why they're cool, and they definitely are pretty darn adorable. But as you can see, they really congregate together and pack very tightly into every little nook and cranny. They're exceptionally social. These are a fish that most of the literature says to keep in groups of 5 or 6, but I would say more like 15 for them to be truly, truly comfortable. You can just see how they pile on top of each other, and I have to admit that behavior is really adorable. Now, one thing that I should mention to you guys about this fish is that similar to a lot of other loaches, these guys have what are called subocular spines, meaning when they feel threatened, they have little spines that stick out from beneath their eyes, and that means when you're netting them, you need to be really cautious because they can get stuck. I prefer to use a coarser net, as the finer nets can really get stuck on their face. Now generally once they settle down, they let go and you can get them out of the net easily without any damage to them or your net.
but it's just something to be aware of. All in all, if I were to pick a Kuhli species for me to keep long term, this would be it, because I think they have a really subtle beauty and I really enjoy watching their social activities. So there you go, the smallest fish that gives me the biggest heebie-jeebies. But all in all, even I have to admit, they're pretty freaking cool. Anyway, make sure you guys stop by my Instagram, my business Facebook, and as well as my website, MsJinx.com, where you can find my upcoming speaking engagements, my current stock list, and information on all things nano. I'm going to be switching up the schedule a bit in this new year, so keep your eyes peeled for those changes. Thanks as always for watching, and let me know below if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions.